So again, thank you for joining IFICA Masterclass today. You've already met Sarah, my human co-pilot, and I'm Sam Page. Some of you know me, but if you don't, I have deep experience in B2B, B2C, content marketing, and corporate communications. But truth be told, my passion is quite simple. I tell stories. And storytelling informs my thinking and inspires and motivates me to bring people together and to help them to feel seen, particularly in workplaces. And today I'm really excited to share some of what we've learned about Viva Engage as an internal comms channel, but also more importantly, its value in building culture, elevating the authentic voices of an organization's most important ambassadors, its people, and creating communities that thrive. So without further delay, we're going to get things started with a poll. I think since you are probably eating al desco and you've given up your lunch hour for this, let's entertain you as well. So we're going to start with a poll. And I want you to, I think it's going to launch in a second. I hope it has. I want you to look at these groups and think about what you think the three groups have in common. And the poll will come up and there'll be some options. So I'll give you just a few minutes to make your choice.
Can you all see the poll in the chat? Yes. Okay, yes. Cool.
Yes.
What do these all have in common? They are in your Instagram feed. They all create a sense of belonging. They embody your ideal workplace. So we've got 89% saying they all create a sense of belonging, 11% saying they're in our Instagram feed, and sadly nobody is saying that they embody their workplace culture.
So I'm sure you've all guessed that the common thread here is belonging and community. And really the headline for 2026 is that the power of community is going to be stronger than ever. But imperfect, human-driven content, more than structured and sterile. So whether you are part of the BTS army and you are one of the 10 to 15 million fans that mobilize for streaming, voting, charity, campaigns, social causes, or you are one of the multi-generational communities that follow Pokemon, 30 years strong, which is amazing, and fans create content, they compete, they collect, they collaborate, or perhaps lesser known, ANZ Banking Group, which was voted by Swoop Analytics as the 2025-2026 best Viva Engage network in the world. And it is plus minus 40,000 employees strong. And it really says, you know, that what is driving these communities, in the first instance, it's this massive global fandom. Culture and identity is the common element there. Organized digital communities, if you are one of the Pokemon followers, coordination and influence, and then enterprise communities. It's really all about workplace belonging. And, you know, the fandoms are really something that is sweeping the, you know, whether you're one of Taylor Swift's fans or one of BTS fans or one of your organizational fans, fandoms in the workplace, communities unite people around shared values, culture, identity, and purpose. And the really amazing thing is that you are inviting everyone and you're saying there's a seat for you, you belong here. And, you know, I love this quote by Kai Geyer, who is the CEO and founder of Swoop Analytics, who says, you know, your best creators already work here because communities are at the heart of enterprise collaboration. They foster engagement, knowledge sharing, and innovation, and they do enable you to build bigger and better internal networks. But I think also what Kai has baked into this quote is that it is important that valuable communities do not disappear through a lack of care and attention. And I think it's a word of caution almost, that when you create something, You cannot just assume that people will come. You have to nurture those communities, you have to listen to them, and you have to aggregate them for them to thrive. So I think that, in the past 5 or 6 years, and you all know this, perhaps instigated by COVID-19, we've seen a shift in internal communication models from what was traditional, where the CEO was the ultimate source of truth. I'm in charge, right? A top-down communication, leadership broadcasts where employees largely consume the communication, and then jargon-rich communication. Let's just leverage these cross-functional strategies and messages that are created solely by corporate comms teams that are sterile and polished. And we've moved to employee-centric, co-creative dialogue, two-way active listening and social listening, which Viva Engage is really amazing for, employee advocacy, crowdsourced solutions, authentic employee-generated content, and then creating communities that build culture and socialize. And that's really the right-hand side of the screen is where we're all playing right now. So what is Viva Engage and where can I find it? I suddenly realized as I was working through and putting this deck together that perhaps people don't know what Viva Engage is. And perhaps you've heard about it, but you don't really know what it is or how you can leverage it to build communities in your organization. So I thought, let me just give you a little bit of a refresher.
Build community, share knowledge, and engage employees. Microsoft Viva Engage connects people with leaders and coworkers across your organization. Employees can join communities that bring people together based on shared interests or roles. Jump into a conversation or start your own. Lost for words? AI-generated suggestions from Copilot can help you get going. Communities are also a great place to share knowledge and ideas. Anyone can ask questions to learn from the diverse experiences and perspectives of coworkers across teams. Or use AI to help find the right information and automatically loop in experts to provide authoritative answers. Viva Engage helps modernize communications to cut through the noise, getting the right information to the right audience across organizational boundaries. Capture attention with videos and images that encourage two-way dialogue. Spark participation in social campaigns that drive business and cultural objectives. And get detailed analytics to measure reach and engagement at every level. From targeted messages to company-wide announcements. With advanced analytics that feature AI-powered sentiment analysis and theme detection. Dedicated tools help leaders engage employees, share their perspective and vision, manage change, and build culture throughout their company. Q&A events allow leaders to listen and respond to the people they lead. And Leadership Corner deepens connections between employees and their specific leaders. Keep up with what matters to you in the apps you use every day, like Outlook and Teams. So relevant news, conversations, and knowledge are always within reach, from your headquarters to your home office. Viva Engage connects everyone, from the executive suite to the shop floor, so anyone can share updates, find answers, and build connections. Try Microsoft Viva Engage today.
So there are many, many benefits, as you could see, but the four that I think apply most directly to internal communications is, first and foremost, improved employee engagement and community building, which is so important to us. With Viva Engage, employees can stay connected to each other, but they can also stay connected to their leaders and to the organization. The ease of Viva Engage, because it is integrated with Microsoft 365 tools, it comes as part of the Microsoft 365 suite. And while there are certain licensing considerations, your very basic Viva Engage can really help you to do a lot in the internal comm space. The data-driven insights, which I will go into a little bit later, you can gain valuable insights into employee engagement, so you don't have to get an external company to do that. Content consumption and also the overall sentiment can be measured. And then better company culture. So there are built-in tools for recognition, for praise, and we know that rewards and recognition really drive employee engagement and helps people to feel seen in an organization, particularly an organization that is a large one. And recognizing, obviously, and celebrating employee contributions. So what are 5 cool things that you can do with Viva Engage? First and foremost, you should invite leaders to co-create. So this is something that Machine has really been able to do very well and has seen a lot of success with in some of the teams that we work with around Viva Engage. It's not just about posting, so we use this 1, 2, 3 rule for posting. So we say to leaders that for every 1 post, they should make 2 replies and 3 reactions. And that makes it manageable, it's achievable, and it doesn't feel intimidating at all. And Swoop, and I'll share a little bit about what Swoop is, but Swoop Analytics is a really great resource to use just to hear what other organizations are doing and how they are scaling Viva Engage. And this was an insight from Swoop Analytics do a masterclass every year where they do benchmarks, they share case studies. And with this particular case study, which really informed the work that we do in that Viva Engage space, executives started posting more regularly with a more authentic tone. They started sharing short videos, behind the scenes updates and candid reflections, and they also introduced Ask Me Anything sessions. And this organization saw that the results were clear. Engagement increased, employees felt more connected to leadership, and trust metrics improved. So you'll see that I've added a little box, which is your to-do and something to try. Onboard some of your leaders in your organization and make them your ambassadors. Perhaps they want to be asked. As I said earlier, everyone is invited. So empowering these champions improves tagging and establishes light touch governance. We see that we have CEOs that are posting voice notes, they are posting updates, and they are then also liking and replying to other messages. How about hosting a live Q&A session or an Ask Me Anything? So this is something really, really cool to do. You post an announcement with an event link and you send an email invite. And then you can gather questions before the Q&A, and you can also review your event analytics. I've just detailed what the process is. I won't go through all of it, but it really is something that fosters two-way communication, and it creates this lasting knowledge, not just a once-off event. Often when you have a in-person event or a webinar, sometimes it isn't available to you again afterwards, after the session, unless it is shared with you, unless the video is shared with you. Whereas when you host a live Q&A, it will exist for as long as you have that community. So you can always go back to it. And you know how easy it is to lose something in your inbox? Well, you can't really lose this because it'll sit in that community feed. You can even pin it to the top of the community feed if you want people to remember that something happened that week. And built into Viva Engage is something called Answers in Viva. And I think you saw it in the video as well. It's a feature that uses AI to connect questions with experts and foster solutions. So if you ask a question, and again, some of these things have licensing considerations around it, but for most of the basic Viva Engage licenses, you should be able to do this. So you'll ask a question, and within that community, you can then find the person that will be best suited to answer that question, which I think is a really, really cool feature. And then, of course, at a loss for words, ask Copilot. So Copilot can also help you to suggest conversations. And if you want to post about something, but you don't really know how to say it, Copilot can generate topic suggestions. They can post ideas. They can give you post ideas and relevant images, which helps to post more consistently. Because like any of you know, any social media platform that you run, it's a beast. It needs to be fed all the time. And so to keep up with the frequency of posts, you can also employ Copilot to help you with conceptualizing some of those ideas. There's also employee sentiment analysis, so you can analyze feedback and responses that you've received, and you can then tailor your posts so that you demonstrate that you understand the workplace and you understand the climate of your workplace. And then something that is very important, particularly on the African continent, is to customize the tone and messaging to make sure that you are not ignoring any cultural nuances that you need to make sure you've built in. It helps you to tailor the tone and length of the messages depending on how you prompt, obviously, and the length of the messages to make them more empathetic and authentic, increasing engagement and also fostering trust. So Copilot in Viva Engage serves as an AI-powered personal assistant. Who doesn't need one of those? As I said, it helps you to craft posts and provide recommendations. And so I think that is something really cool to try. And then leaders in the feed, not the inbox. So we hear it so often, and I'm sure you hear it too. There is so much noise. And so many emails. How do we get to all of it? And do we want important messages to be lost in an email inbox? So sending out a newsletter on Viva Engage is something really great to trial with your leaders, with specific business units. You can draft and schedule the posts. You can publish on Storyline or your community. You can include a variety of rich media, and you can also view, react, respond, which is that two-way communication, which doesn't happen when you send a newsletter via Teams, via email. There is an article a tool within Viva Engage, but even if you don't have that, because I know that it came out in 2024 already, and in the various upgrades of Viva Engage, it becomes more sophisticated, but not everybody has that as part of their basic licensing. So that is something that you can check with your IT department. But even a basic, you can use your kind of basic post to craft a newsletter that has got embedded links in it, and you've hyperlinked words, you can actually click out to somewhere else. Usually you have to put your links in your caption copy, but this way you don't have to do that, and your teams, employees can immediately react, ask questions, respond to what you are asking and what you're saying. And then measure, 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 measure. How many more times can I say it? We have to measure our internal comms efforts, not just because we work hard and we'd like to see if our messages are landing, but also something that we discovered in our internal comms survey last year and in our white paper report that came out at the end of last year is that 37% of the people that we surveyed, our internal comms practitioners, said that they don't measure their internal comms efforts at all. And as a result, find it very difficult to get C-suite support. Obviously funding also for some of their projects, and often that has resulted in internal comms teams being quite lean and stressed and just overburdened with all the requests that they receive all the time, and without any measure of whether those requests are actually landing in the way they should land and with the people that they should land with. And built into Viva Engage, there are a number of channels that you can use to as analytics to check what the sentiment is, whether your post was trending positive. So you can see there that there's a little scale that gives you some indication of kind of where your post is sitting in terms of audience analytics. There are personal analytics as well, so you can see how your polls or your posts have been doing, and you can get a bit of a dashboard where you can see various elements of that. And then your community analytics takes all of that into consideration, and you can see what the trend has been over a month or over 3 months. If you are trialing something new, it's a really good way to gauge if your messages are landing in the way they should land. And then what I've added in there is just the QR code to the full IFICA white paper on the state of internal communications in Africa. It came out we did a survey at the end of 2024. Then at the beginning of 2025, we released the white paper. And it really gives a very good snapshot of some of the challenges that internal comms practitioners across the continent are experiencing, and how we can support each other in making sure that our messages land with staff, and how to craft it in a way that everybody feels seen and heard. So please scan the QR code if you want access to that. We also, Sarah, put the link to the survey that we are launching. We've just launched for 2026. So we will obviously launch the survey, gather all the results, and then put together a white paper for 2026 as well, 2025, 2026, so that you can also see what's trending and what's relevant to the internal comms that you're delivering. So I also feel like, internal comms practitioners more than anything need resources. They need to know where to go if they need to find out about something. So obviously, since I am working at Machine, I think Machine is a very good resource for you around content and communication specialists. Our specialist division, we cover strategy. We do content calendars for Viva Engage as well in consultation with our clients. We provide context, which I think sometimes is also missing in some of our discussions. It's not just about putting out a particular message, but what is the context of that message, and how does that help to deliver an engaging messaging framework for staff? And then, we always take a solution-orientated approach, and you can always see our borderless creativity at play in our posts that we put up and in how we approach Viva Engage. And then, of course, IFICA, that's why you're here. We are a community of communication practitioners. I don't know if you've signed up, but if you haven't, you should. For our newsletters, we also do events. Our white paper that I've just talked about, we try to provide support to internal comms practitioners and share insights and trends. I certainly don't know everything about Viva Engage. I'm learning as I go through it. And I'm always happy and interested to learn how other people are applying, their internal comms efforts. I think it's important to just call out Microsoft because Microsoft has a built-in support. There's information, there's guides, there's templates, there are resources, there are forums, there are really cool videos, and there are a number of different resources that is actually built into Microsoft. And most people don't use them and don't even know that they exist. So if you want to know how do I do an Ask Me Anything session, Microsoft can answer that question for you. It's all built in. And then, of course, Publicis Group Africa, that's our mothership. And we have a very deep skill set of diverse, industry leaders. We cover best practice, strategy, creative, project management, production, and media. And then, of course, I mentioned Swoop Analytics. So Sarah actually said Swoop should be paying me for giving them a plug. But I really feel like they are one of the definitive voices around Viva Engage. Their masterclasses that they deliver always lands with me something that I can implement, something that makes me think, and also something that makes me act, which is really what we all want to do. We want to be able to take these practical insights and then act on them and do something. So Swoop Analytics it's a digital workplace analytics program that is designed to improve internal collaboration and communication. And so I think it's very easy to find. They are a really, really good resource if you are looking for interesting ways to apply your internal comms efforts, and great case studies about what has worked, what hasn't worked, and where we can all help and support each other in our efforts. I think I am going to just pause here and maybe ask if there are any questions that we can answer for you. I might not have all the answers, but I'll do my best to answer for you. It is important that I just give a little plug to our next masterclass that's coming up on the 16th of April. I hope you will join us for Uluchi Ezwego. I hope I've said that correctly. Who is going to talk about how to get your C-suite to buy into internal comms. I'm certainly going to be attending that. So we are going to pause for some questions.
Thanks, Sam. I'm going to open the floor for any questions. I have launched a little poll to create a word cloud for how you found the webinar, which I think is just a really fun way to connect with you all. But are there any specific questions? I know there was one question in the chat, which I hope I've answered. There's one here, which is, what are some tips to drive traffic on Viva Engage? And I'll hand that to Sam, but also if you have an answer based on something that you've done, please stick your hand up and sort of build on what Sam has to say, because I think it's down to what everyone has learned through using this.
Yeah, so I think, it's a really great question, because it's something that we've also been thinking about when we launched a new community at the end of last year. We bulk added everybody onto the community, but obviously engagement is voluntary. People have to engage with it. But I think that the key here is to think of your internal comms channels as an ecosystem, that nothing exists in isolation. So if you are if you are having a webinar, for example, we've just created a display ad for our team's webinar that has a QR code that clicks through to Viva Engage. It's really nice to also say, to offer an incentive and to say maybe the first 10 people get a free coffee, or there are all kinds of incentives or a poll. So I think the key here is to always be selling your Viva Engage platform, not just on Viva Engage. You cannot just promote it there. You have to promote it in your newsletters. You have to promote it on Teams backgrounds. You have to promote it on your, wherever there are eyeballs, because we are, like I said, we've just created a display ad. Instead of people just listening to the lift music played before they join a call, we've created a slide that sends them to Viva Engage as well and tells them to take a poll or do something there. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Matax, you've got your hand up. Go for it.
Thank you for that, Samantha. And just to add on to what Samantha has said, something we do also differently is that we run Viva Engage workshops, because sometimes we've noticed that even people within your organization may not even know the platform, may not even know the platform exists, or they are just not confident enough to work with the platform and navigate the platform. So we found that that also helps, having regular workshops. We even have a repository for tips and tricks. We've got an etiquette guide. We've got a lot of resources that will make people very comfortable in going to the app, because that's very important, because if you're not comfortable with an application, you're never going to want to use it, and then you miss out on all of the excitement. So that's another thing I would recommend.
And I think that's such an important build. What we've also recommended, to your point, is doing workshops with our leaders. So, with that first point that I made about, onboarding leaders, to make them comfortable to use the platform is the first step in getting them to use the platform. It seems intimidating. It seems like, oh my gosh, where do I go? How do I post? What do I link to? And so just doing an interactive workshop where you actually pull up your Viva Engage, share your screen, and show them where the different tools and tricks are, makes it definitely less intimidating and a much easier platform to navigate.
I have seen your question, Belinda, and I'm going to come back to it, but just because it's building on the same point, I'm going to jump to the later question about getting leadership to buy in. I think building on what Sam and Matax have said, sometimes depending on the size of your organization, it can help to target a leader who is already maybe more charismatic, more comfortable being familiar with staff, and create a little bit of momentum. So help them with a few posts. Most leaders, just from a time point of view, will need support either with ghostwriting, or if you're going to do a Viva Engage live, they probably need you doing next and then supporting them fielding questions. But generally, once leaders start to see momentum in an area, then that starts to help drive momentum across the business. And then obviously the measurement piece is really, really important, because all leaders have KPIs. And if this becomes an effective way to drive one of those KPIs, I think that becomes really powerful. We are almost out of time, so I want to just bounce back to Belinda, who I'm going to throw at Sam. Do you find that employees get confused about when to use Teams versus Outlook versus Viva Engage? Which I think is a great question.
Yeah, and again, I think to Matt's earlier point, it is something that we can cover in a workshop setting where they can actually see where everything sits and what you can turn off. And what you can switch on, because that was one of the concerns with one of our leaders, was saying, it's just going to be too noisy, where all these notifications are going to come into my inbox. You can actually turn them off. And so there are things that you can tailor the platform to how you want to use it and how you want to receive messages. And so that is one of the first things that we kind of show people, is where to find it, how to navigate between using it within Teams and using the Engage, the web version of it. Sometimes people feel that is the more manageable, is to use it within the web page rather than Teams, but it does integrate, so they can do either one. But I think first step when you are onboarding your communities or onboarding staff to it is to take them through a little workshop, and just some of the very basic elements of where to join, and how to tailor it so that it doesn't become more of the noise that you already have.
Go for it, Matax, go for it.
Sorry, I just wanted to add on to what Samantha said. Also, just a little tip that we usually tell people in the workshops is that with Outlook and Teams, when you need to communicate with someone, you need to know which expert or who to assist you with that particular thing that you're looking for. But the nice thing about Viva Engage and the difference is that you can pose a question and multiple experts can come without you having to go to that particular person for that question. So you can even gain more information in that sense. So that's a nice difference between the two as well.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
It's lovely. Any success from anybody to get employees to download the Viva Engage app onto their phones, and what did you do? This is fascinating. I think it's going to be so evidentiary of your workplace culture, because some workplace cultures, everyone's on their phones and everything's on their phone, Teams, and then others, it's not at all, and it probably never will be, and that's not a bad thing. So yeah, anybody have any experience specifically around that they want to share?
Yeah, so we haven't really been using it. I don't know if there are people within the organization that have been using it on their phones, probably. But you know, we haven't really been playing in that space. So it's a good point, and something that I'm quite interested in hearing feedback from people of, you know, how they've experienced that, and how the user experience is on mobile, and how different it is to using it on your desktop. I don't know. Actually, it's a good question.
Go for it, Matax.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm sure you guys see how much I love Viva.
Good, an advocate.
So we do use it on our cell phones as well. Not everyone, of course, but for example, for myself, because I post regularly on Viva Engage, I use the desktop version, but I've got the mobile version on my phone because it's such a nice way to have it on the go. I get updates anytime. And now with the scheduling, you can schedule posts for weekends. You can still get updates on weekends. It's like social media for me. It's not different to Facebook. I also incorporate it into my lifestyle just to keep up with everything that's happening. And one way we try to show people that it's available on your mobile, we used to put it on our Pulse magazine, like our digital magazine. We also assist people on how to download it. We mention it in the regular workshops that we run. So we're constantly making people aware that there is a mobile version, and it's, for me, the user friendliness on the mobile, it's nicer. It looks better. It looks like a real social media platform that we are familiar with, like almost has a Facebook interface. The web version, I think it's better working from for me. And also some people get a bit nervous because since it is an internal social media platform, some people will think, oh, people will think I'm not working and I'm just faffing around. So there's kind of still an intimidation there, where people think, oh, I should be working, but I'm on social media. So when it's on your desktop, it's like a big thing, which it's not the case, but you know, so I find it much easier on my phone. And we do try to advertise it to our employees that it's just a better user experience on your mobile. Yeah.
I'm going to jump to Ruth, and then we are going to have to close for time. Go for it, Ruth.
Just one comment. I'm going to play devil's advocate about the Viva Engage on the phone. I am still a firm believer in work-life balance and things being kept separate. Like, I don't like having Teams on my phone, although sometimes it is convenient, even emails and all of that. So sometimes I do delete Viva Engage on my phone because I enjoy the experience of coming into the office on a Monday and then switching on my laptop and then seeing what I've missed out. Because sometimes when I find when I have it on my phone, it's, you know, it can be distracting, but it is great to have on your phone. But I also love that you can access it on desktop as well. So even in my previous place of employment, I wasn't really in my role pushing that people download it on their phones, because also there was that respect that some might like to keep work and home life separate. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I think that's an important build, and it's important in the internal comm space. It's, how people want to receive their messages as well, and to be able to have a choice in that is also important.
Thank you, everybody. We will be putting the video together and sharing that. Please do make sure that you sign up for our April webinar and that you take the survey. Thank you so much, Sam, for your time and for sharing your expertise with us. Thank you to everyone who has participated, and please make sure that you subscribe to IFICA. I did put a link further up in the chat because that's how you're going to hear about what we're doing. And yeah, feel free to forward invitations to your network. These are open spaces for internal comm specialists. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday and have a good week ahead. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.